Republican voters have delivered what many analysts are calling a massive wake-up call to Donald Trump, as recent developments inside the Republican Party are beginning to show cracks in the solid wall of support that the former president has long claimed to command. The latest rounds of polling, internal party discussions and grassroots reactions suggest that the Republican base, while still strongly conservative and skeptical of the Biden administration, is no longer monolithic in its loyalty to Trump. The news has sent shockwaves through Washington political circles and across the country as the GOP gears up for one of the most consequential election cycles in modern history. The political environment around Trump has always been turbulent, but the latest indicators suggest that this time the discontent is coming not from Democrats or independents but from Republicans themselves. This is particularly significant because, for years, Trump has branded himself as the undisputed leader of the party, the figure who could bend the GOP to his will and rally millions of voters around his platform. However, the message being sent by Republican voters is now more complicated and nuanced. They are saying, in effect, that Trump cannot take them for granted, that his past victories do not guarantee future loyalty, and that the Republican Party cannot be run like a one-man operation. Recent surveys conducted across key battleground states show a growing appetite for alternatives. Within these surveys, Republican voters are voicing frustration over Trump's repeated focus on the 2020 election and his insistence on relitigating old battles rather than presenting new solutions for the future. While a portion of the base still applauds his fighting spirit, others are signaling fatigue. They want to hear about inflation, about national security, about the border, about health care, and about the economy in ways that do not always center on personal grievances. A recurring theme in interviews with Republican voters is that they appreciate Trump's accomplishments during his presidency, such as tax reforms, deregulation, and foreign policy moves, but they also worry that his current rhetoric might damage the party's ability to expand its coalition. In town halls, local party meetings, and conservative media call-ins, a subtle shift is noticeable. The unwavering cheers that once greeted every mention of Trump are now mixed with cautious questions about electability. Some lifelong Republicans are concerned that if Trump remains the nominee, the party risks alienating moderate suburban voters and independents who are critical in swing states. These voters are pointing out the disappointing results of the last midterm elections, where many Trump-backed candidates underperformed, giving Democrats unexpected breathing room in Congress. For many Republicans, that outcome raised alarms about whether Trump's influence is still a winning asset or has become a liability. The wake-up call has also been amplified by the rise of other Republican figures who are positioning themselves as credible alternatives. Governors, senators, and even younger lawmakers are carefully stepping into the spotlight, presenting themselves as leaders who can continue conservative policies without the constant drama of Trump's personal battles. Names like Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, and others come up frequently in conversations about the future of the party, even if none has yet matched Trump's charisma or grassroots firepower. The mere fact that Republican voters are considering them more seriously shows that the monopoly is weakening. Fundraising patterns provide another piece of evidence for this shift. While Trump remains a juggernaut in small dollar donations, analysts have noted that some major Republican donors are beginning to hedge their bets by distributing funds to multiple candidates and organizations. They are signaling that they are not willing to tie the entire party's future to one man. This has not gone unnoticed by rank-and-file voters who often look to donor behavior as a sign of where the winds may be blowing. The Republican National Committee is also caught in the middle of this evolving landscape. On one hand, it cannot afford to alienate Trump, who still commands a passionate base capable of influencing primaries and turnout. On the other hand, it faces the daunting task of keeping the broader coalition united and competitive. The wake-up call from voters is pushing party leaders to rethink strategy and messaging. Instead of simply echoing Trump's talking points, there is pressure to craft a forward-looking vision that addresses the pressing issues of today. For Trump himself, the signs are impossible to ignore. While he continues to hold rallies that draw thousands, his team is aware of the growing murmurs within the party. Advisors have reportedly urged him to broaden his message and to focus on policy achievements rather than solely on grievances. Yet those who know Trump best acknowledge that changing his style is not easy. The question now is whether he will heed the warning or double down on the approach that brought him both loyalists and critics. The broader implications for American politics are profound, if Republican voters are indeed shifting even slightly away from Trump. It could reshape not only the GOP primary landscape, but also the general election dynamics. Democrats who once built their entire strategy around opposing Trump may find themselves facing a different Republican candidate, one harder to caricature and potentially more appealing to centrist voters. At the same time, if Trump ignores the wake-up call and presses ahead, he could fracture the party, leading to bitter primaries and weakening the GOP's chances in the general. Political historians note that parties often go through cycles of transformation. The Democratic Party reinvented itself in the 1990s under Bill Clinton after years of losses. The Republican Party itself shifted in the 1980s under Ronald Reagan to become the dominant conservative force. Trump brought his own realignment in 2016, tapping into populist anger and reshaping the GOP around nationalism and anti-establishment themes, but now nearly a decade later the energy that once propelled him might be facing the natural wear and tear of political life, and Republican voters are showing signs of recalibration. The wake-up call is not limited to elite owners or think tank debates. Ordinary Republican voters at county fairs, diners and community centers are openly discussing the future of the party. They are debating whether Trump is the best messenger for their values or whether a new face could advance the agenda with fewer distractions. These conversations are particularly noticeable in states like Iowa, New Hampshire and South Carolina, where grassroots activism plays a crucial role in shaping momentum. Early indications suggest that voters are willing to listen to alternatives even if they are not yet fully convinced to move on from Trump. Meanwhile, Democrats are closely watching these developments, hoping that Republican divisions will play to their advantage, but also wary of underestimating the GOP. No matter the internal turbulence, Republicans remain energized around issues such as border security, inflation, cultural debates, and opposition to what they see as government overreach. These issues are powerful motivators and could unify the party again if framed effectively. The question is, who will be the messenger that carries that message into the next election cycle? The media landscape also plays a pivotal role in this unfolding drama. Conservative outlets that once gave Trump blanket support are now diversifying their coverage. Some commentators are openly questioning whether Trump can win again. Others still fiercely defend him. The result is a fragmented media environment that mirrors the divisions within the base. Social media amplifies these differences, creating echo chambers where pro-Trump loyalists clash with those advocating for new leadership. Each side insists it represents the true heart of the Republican Party, but the numbers suggest that the base is no longer as uniform as it once was. Adding to the complexity are ongoing legal challenges and investigations involving Trump, while his supporters often rally around him in defiance of what they see as politically motivated attacks. Some Republican voters admit to being uneasy about the distractions these cases create. They worry about whether a nominee entangled in legal battles can effectively campaign against Democrats. This concern has surfaced repeatedly in focus groups where Republican voters express admiration for Trump's resilience but anxiety about his electability. As the months progress, the Republican Party faces a crossroads. Will it remain firmly in Trump's grip, or will it evolve into a broader movement that includes his influence but is not defined entirely by the wake-up call from voters? Indicates that the latter option is gaining traction. The coming primaries, debates and state conventions will provide more concrete answers, but for now the warning signals are flashing. For Trump, the moment is reminiscent of political figures in the past who enjoyed massive followings only to be reminded by their own supporters that no leader is above accountability. Even strong movements require adaptation and renewal. Voters are signaling that they want results, not just rhetoric. They want victories, not just fights. They want leadership that can expand a map, not